Ira, thank you for being here. I'm really happy that you're on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
This is great.
So tell me, we just got through having lunch.
Right.
I enjoy that, man. I just enjoy talking with you. I mean,
It's
so
like
for the
it's
first
mutual.
time, for the first time that I met you and stuff. Where are you from originally?
Kansas.
Kansas.
Kansas
And
home.
then you did tell me. Then you went up to New York.
Well, okay, so the family started, my mom and dad are from Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my dad went to Langston, historically black college in Oklahoma. And after he graduated, my dad moved to Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, met my mom. They had the family start out in Wichita, Kansas. From there, they moved to Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was born.
Okay.
Okay, so I was born in Minneapolis,
Right.
St. Paul, Minnesota.
Right.
And lived there until, like say I was 1 or something.
Right.
Then we moved to Rochester, Minnesota. My dad worked for IBM. So my dad was an engineer, scientist, metallurgist.
Did he ever get sent outside the United States?
He never did.
He never did. Okay.
But he
IBM was doing a lot of that.
They were doing a lot of that.
Yes.
But he worked internationally. He was doing his research internationally.
Mm-hmm.
So when he was at Boeing in Wichita, Kansas, he worked on the B-52 bombers.
Wow.
Okay, the long wingspan, had a
Yes.
lot of problems with those things.
Right.
He picked up a research paper from a guy in Russia, shot peening, on how to do better testing for materials. And he had his own lab, he had his technicians. He was a black man in Wichita, Kansas, working on the B-52 bomber, and he was keeping them things flying.
So he had some money. You didn't grow up too
I
shabby.
didn't.
Like,
No, we didn't go chef. Dad, he's smart.
and you're one of 4. You're the last of 4.
I'm the last of 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Older sister, older brother,
You got it.
and one more older sister.
Exactly.
And then you're the 4th.
I'm the 4th.
You're
one.
the baby.
I'm the baby.
Wow, man. And how's your family doing now? How's it going?
Everybody's good, you know.
Okay.
I mean, my brother, he's does IT manufacturing
Yeah.
in Dallas.
Okay.
My sister is with Abbott Labs. They just had a patented device for COVID-19 testing,
Okay.
rapid testing.
Yeah.
She's doing great. My mom's 85, living in Wichita,
Yeah.
and she's a grandmother for Head Start program in Wichita, Kansas.
Wow.
Yeah, she still goes to work. Just talked to her this morning. She gets up at 4:30,
Yeah.
gets ready, and goes to work. She walks 2 miles, you know, when she does her walking, and she's in good shape.
Wait, was that your mother's sister I talked to on the phone?
You talking about Aunt
Your
Jerry?
auntie. Yeah,
Aunt
that
Jerry.
was fun. That was fun because that was the time you were here in the club and you had your iPad, and maybe it was what was it, an iBook? Maybe
It's
it
probably
was.
my MacBook.
Your MacBook.
Yeah, I
That's
was doing
right.
a conference. I was conference
Yeah.
call with them.
And then you were a conference calling, and so was that. That was nice. That was
They
nice.
love talking with you, Lance.
That was real. That's
They
real.
love
So
it.
tell me more about your father. So your father, he worked for Boeing,
Worked for Boeing, then he worked for Honeywell
Honeywell, yes.
in Minneapolis there. Then he worked for IBM in Rochester, Minnesota.
Mhm.
Then he took a job with GE Research Labs in upstate New York.
Okay.
Okay, so the family's far, far from our roots,
Right.
but he wanted to be up there.
Wow.
He had a great job, and so we took the family up there. We had a beautiful 2-story white colonial home. You know, we had a 1/4-acre lot, which is, you know, if you're gonna had to push mow that you.
And he had you out there doing it too.
My brother was out there
You were
doing it,
doing it, okay.
and then I'd watch him, and then he was, you know, okay, you're next.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So how'd you get into the field? Where'd you tell me about yourself? So you went to college where?
So undergrad with Kansas State University.
Kansas State, right?
Yeah. And then I went there because my brother, he went there undergrad, and he did his master's there.
Okay.
And so when I was looking around for places to go, it was like, well, my brother went there.
Right.
I did in 1984, we moved from from New York to Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent the summer with my brother.
Okay.
And so I did college trig. I did some other like an engineering program. I was going between sophomore year and junior year.
Okay.
And so I got to know the campus. I got to know the woman who was in charge of the minority engineering program, Karen Hummel. And I was like, this is cool. This is nice. It's a nice place to be. And so it was logical. Right after high school, I applied to other schools, but Kansas State, they wanted me. They gave me good money, good scholarships.
Oh, that's good.
And so that's where I went undergrad.
Wow. And then what'd you study?
Electrical engineering.
Electrical engineering.
When I was 5 years old, I knew I wanted to be an electrical engineer.
Well, how'd that happen?
Because, okay, my brother's 7 years older than me.
Okay.
Okay. And my dad always made math fun. Math, science, engineering. So we're
So you
doing
never had a
experiments. So I'm
favorite?
taking apart the radio, the transistor radio. We're doing Heathkit experiments at home. It was always fun. And so that's what I want to do. I want to do electrical engineering.
You still feel that way now?
Yeah.
All right. So, but what do you do? Okay. So, fast forward. What are you doing now? And what brought you? First of all, what brought you to Japan?
So my dad didn't work overseas, but he always told us, learn a foreign language. Because he was working with people from overseas, right? And so I took German when I was in 7th grade. I liked it, but it didn't stick. And then I took Spanish in high school 2 years. I wasn't serious about it. But my dad, you got to learn a foreign language. And he would always watch the news. We always talked about current events. We talked about, politics. We talked about engineering. This is just a dinner table. We opened the paper, watched the news. And so I had a very strong awareness of what's going on in the world. And when back in the 80s, Japan at that time was the foreign power that America was scared of.
That's right.
Okay.
They were buying up everything.
They're buying up everything. They were selling things in the U.S. and American companies were getting scared, right? So Iacocca was talking about, they're unfair trading partners, right? And the president, unfair. And I looked at that situation and I said, just because how my dad looked at the world, and I said, I bet if I could speak Japanese and if I knew that culture and if I lived there, I bet I could help American companies do well in Japan. I didn't know no Japanese. I didn't know no Japanese person. I didn't know anything about anime. I was just like, I loved their high tech. I was amazed that they rose up out of World War II, okay, and rose up to be the second largest economy. I'm like, how did that happen? How do you do that? And I was just curious. I wanted to come over. That was what led me. Didn't have Japanese in high school. Didn't have it in undergrad, but when I picked my grad school, I picked Georgia Tech in Atlanta. Okay. Because it was a top school for my major, which was digital signal processing. So everything you're doing today, all these phones, everything you do, that's what I wanted to study. Okay. I wanted to make this world that we live in today exist. And so I went to Georgia Tech, they had Japanese, and I took Japanese there.
So when did you graduate? What year did you graduate?
I came out of Georgia Tech in 1993.
And after that, you came straight to Japan?
So I got a scholarship.
Okay. Wait, you got a scholarship to go where?
So when I was at Georgia Tech, I signed up for Japanese, which was foolish because I'm a grad student at Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech is no joke. But I'm gonna take Japanese too. I go to class. The kid sitting next to me, he was American, but he spoke Korean, he spoke Chinese, and he was just starting Japanese. The Japanese teacher speaking Japanese from the first day.
Right away.
I said, I'm out of this class. I dropped that class so fast. But I found a poster, and it said, if you have 1 year Japanese, you can apply for this scholarship, which was to help more American engineers to know Japanese. And you would go to Japan for 2 months, summer intensive class, and then they would help you find a job in Japan. And I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. So I took my grad program, which is only 1 year, and I pushed it out. Okay. I pushed it out 1 more year so that I could get the Japanese. When I moved my classes out, it was a lot easier to do my engineering and Japanese at the same time. Because I was gonna go, and if you talk to anybody, they say Ira's going to Japan. From when I was an undergrad, they were talking about that. Ira's gonna go to Japan. He's gonna go to Japan. Because I was just dead focused on it.
So when year did you get here?
I got here June 1993. Flew over on Northwest Airlines.
So it's right after you graduated,
right? Right after I graduated. I got a scholarship, and I went to, they took us by bus from Narita Airport up to Fukushima Ken, Koriyama-shi. Right. And they did that big smart program because they said, look, we don't want you to see Tokyo.
At all?
At all. Okay. We're going to put you up there, ain't nobody speaking English to you, and you were going to know Japan. And it was great. So from that experience.
And that was for 3 months?
2 months.
2 months?
2 months.
Okay.
And I love Japan. I was like, hey, I can speak Japanese, they understand me, and I understand them.
So what did you love about Japan? What made you love it?
Man, I love the people.
Okay.
That's because, so I'm Midwest. I've always had a problem in Tokyo because when you walk and you see someone, and you usually say hi. You don't even, you just say, because there's a person. But so the small towns, it's like that.
It is.
You go into a bar and the guy next to you start talking about where you're from, where he's from. Yeah. He just, you might not speak great Japanese, but he's gonna talk to you.
Right.
You get lost, someone's gonna help you. We were up in Goshikinuma, and it's volcano's got 5 lakes, and we are lost. We're trying to find the bus stop to get back to the town. This guy in a little Suzuki, old Japanese dude.
When was this now?
Again, the summertime. This is 1993.
1993.
So why
So you and some of the other students?
Other students were hiking in 1993. Okay. And this guy, he just sees these college kids, and he's like, he doesn't speak English, and our Japanese isn't that good, but we were trying to like tell him we need to get here on a map, and he's like, get in. We get in his little Suzuki, and he drove us to the bus stop, got out,
Good to go.
and said goodbye. And so I was just like, what is going on? The most amazing thing was this. We had just learned in Japanese class how Japanese have an asymmetric giving, you know. And so if you're the older one, you know, you're going to give more, and the young one you give less, right? And so we were like, okay, let's go try this out. We went to this izakaya, and again, Koriyamashi, right? And we said, okay, there's a group of friends next to us, Japanese, older, you know, they're like in the, say, 50s, still working, not retired, you know, and they were having a nice time out, and it's me and my classmates, it was like 5 of us, okay? And they bought us a beer. They bought beer for our table. Okay. And we said, oh, let's try this out. Right. So we bought them beers, you know, a little bit less, but we bought them beers, and they bought us beers. And we're all like this all night. Okay. We're buying beers, they're buying beers, we're getting to know who they are. At the end of the night, it's time to go. Okay, we gotta go. And they had left ahead of us, this group of friends, they left. We go to pay, and they say, they paid for you. That means they paid for all the beers, back and forth, and our food. And it was like, we were like, what? They don't know us. We're just sitting here.
Who does that?
And I was just like, man. And so we went. So the next day we went to the store, and we went to one of the department stores by the train station and just got a present, you know. And we brought that to the store, to the restaurant. I said, hey, we don't know who they are, but you know them, and could you please let them know? We said, we just want to say thank you. And I was like, this is Japan. You know, and of course we did Obon Festival, you do the Obon dancing and everybody's having fun, it's very festive, right? So you do that. I did a homestay up in, my homestay family, we're still friends, we still keep in touch and everything, up in Yamagata Ken, Takahata Machi. Okay. It's a very small place. My homestay mother, I talked to her a few weeks ago. Okay. This is back from 1993 to now.
Still in touch with her.
Still in touch with her. Farmers, rice farmers. Every time you go up there, everything on that table is going to come from her garden. You can think it's a huge garden, okay? It's a huge garden. I remember I went up there one time because they needed some help. They were growing cucumbers. You know, this is back just like 2000 and let's say 2007. And I helped them out growing cucumbers. Learn how to pick. They have a stick. This is Japan, right? They got a stick that measures the proper length of a cucumber, okay? And you have to hold it up and you measure it, and if it's too short, don't cut it. If it's too long, cut it and put it in the box that's, you know, the reject box. And it's just, that's just Japan. So yeah.
So you stayed here for 2 months doing that. After that, what happened? You go back to the States.
I went back to the States. I went to work for Texas Instruments. Okay, but that's a funny story because when I was at Georgia Tech, to go on that scholarship program, I had to have $1,000 of my own money. Okay. It cost $11,000. The scholarship was for 10, but you had to have 1. Okay. I thought, okay, I'll write to friends and family and get $1,000. I didn't have time. I was trying to finish up graduation, my research paper and everything, get graduated, find a job. So I go to Texas Instruments for a job interview. And I get there, and the first guy, he was the hardball guy. He's like, I heard you want to go to Japan. I was like, yeah, I want to go to Japan. Aren't you afraid of racism? I was like, well, I've done really well in the United States, and I went to Kansas State, population 20,000, minority population, maybe, you know,
2,
maybe 100, you know, and I was I got my friend who's from Trinidad and Tobago, who was a non-traditional student from military. I got him elected as president, student body president, and I was his chief of staff. I said, I think we'll be okay over there. He said, okay. So he softened up after that. I had several other interviews, and the next guy said, Stephen Covey's book, right, about seven habits successful people. Right. He says there's a chapter in there that talks about an axis, x-axis, y-axis. It's about urgent, not urgent, and important, not important. He says everybody has problems with the things that fall into the place which is important, but it's not urgent, because, you know, you just procrastinate. I said, I got a problem like that. I got this scholarship to go to Japan, and I have to get $1,000, and I haven't had time to write to people. He said, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And the interview continues on, right? I meet some other people. I meet the VP, last guy's the VP of sales. Everybody else had written stuff down, okay, about the interview, you know, my answers and everything. The VP, he didn't write nothing. We talked about sailing. We talked about my research. He gave me a book, tell me with my research. And I was like, okay, I guess either he didn't like me or he liked me. It was the interview before lunch. Before I go to lunch, one of the women organizing the interviews comes up to me and says, Ira, Dave wants to see you when you get back from lunch. And I thought, oh, he must want to write something down because he didn't write nothing, right? I come back from lunch and Dave says, Ira, you know that $1,000 you talked about? We're going to give you a scholarship for $1,000. And on top of that, I'm going to set up interviews for, not interviews, I'm going to set up meetings for you with my counterparts in TI Japan. I want you to meet them after you finish that 2-month Japanese program. Dude, nobody ever done that for me in my life, man.
Talk to me, man.
I was just like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm blessed. I'm just trying to get a job. And this guy is like, and everybody else, I knew with Apple, I had offers from Apple and Motorola. Motorola said, Ira, we need you to come to us right away. You can't go on the program. And I was like, well, I'm not going to work with you.
You knew what you wanted.
I know, and Apple was kind of like, well, you know, it was I needed to do this 2-month program. And TI that day, he was the smartest guy. That was the easiest $1,000, and I gave TI a huge return.
Of course you did.
It was huge, man, huge.
He knew what you needed. He knew what your value was. And
he knew how to get me.
He sure did.
He didn't say it's contingent upon you taking the job.
Now tell me, now he gets you. What did you do for them? Tell me. Let's get into that.
Okay, let's get into that.
What did you do?
You see this phone here?
Yeah.
So I used to run.
This phone, where's my phone? Go on.
I used to run, it's a cellular phone chipset design team in Japan.
Right.
So I came here, so after the program finished, I went to work for TI in Dallas. That was 1994. No, 1993, right after that, okay. In 1994, TI sends me back to Japan.
To the office here.
To office here.
So it's right. I know that was by.
They had one in Aoyama, but I worked in one in Shiba Ura.
Oh, Shiba Ura, okay.
Okay, and so you know Masa.
But wait, but I know him, yes. But did you know a guy by the name of Knight? A brother.
No, I didn't know that. Oh.
Okay. He came over here every now and then. He was like you, what I like to call the very brainy brothers.
Okay.
Really brainy. And I met him over there.
Didn't know Knight. Did you know John Stick?
I know the name.
Yeah, because when you were president, John Stick was
okay.
Senior Vice President of TI Japan.
Yes.
Okay, so John was my mentor here.
Here.
And he's still my mentor.
But where is he now?
He's in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, Christina. She was Christina Stick. She was involved in the women's group, and John was involved in the American Chamber of Commerce. Right. So, I come over here in '94, and my job was to teach all the Salesforce digital signal processing. Okay, and again, that's everything from your phone to your TVs to your Siri. All that stuff is digital signal processing. Okay, so I'm on the precursor edge of all that stuff. So I show up, teach all the sales team, had a great time. You know, sales guys, right? So they're gonna show you Japan. You're gonna have the settais and nobikais. So I'm this young kid. I'm teaching these old sales guys, and like, come on, Ira, you need to go golfing, you need to go karaoke, you need to go. So I'm like, okay, right? And I'm just eating it up. I'm a young kid. I'm like, this is great. So
Bill, how old were you when you did come? How old were you when you came here? Do you remember your age?
Oh my
come
God.
on, you have to remember that.
What was I, like 25?
20. That's yeah.
I was
having a ball.
I was having a ball, man.
You were having a ball.
I was having a ball. I mean, so 25 going from. Okay, now I grew up poor. Okay, my dad was a stellar engineer.
You said you grew up poor.
I say that because what happened was he had a mental illness.
Okay.
Okay, right. And so kind of like Beautiful Mind, you know, I know the Beautiful Mind.
The movie, yes.
Brilliant man.
Yes.
And then he stopped working.
Okay.
Because disagreeing with the boss, and then he had just some challenges in his life.
Okay.
So mom had to be the breadwinner.
Everything, yes.
Okay, and so at one point she's working 3 jobs. At one point she would I'd find out later in life she was like a maid at hotels. Okay, and another job she would go to McDonald's to change to go to the next job.
Wow.
Okay.
And you knew nothing about this.
I mean, I didn't know. I
mean,
didn't know
you-
those kind of stuff.
yeah.
I just knew my mom was going to work.
You knew she was going to work, and she was always at work.
And she's always at work.
Right.
And so, it got to the point where my dad would come and go, because it's kind of the mental illness, so he would come and go. But he was always there.
Mm-hmm.
He always showed up at the right time. So my dad was always there in my life. But there were a lot of times where it was pretty much me. So my mom was working. She'd work 30 shifts.
Right.
Okay.
But your older sister took care of you too.
No, because she passed away in 1984.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
And my brothers, they had gone to college.
Okay.
And so was my mom and myself.
So how old were you during this time?
I came in, let's see, my dad's from second grade until, my high school. I mean, I had to have, so I grew up, I had to learn a lot of things, had to be the man in the house. I've been doing my mom's taxes since I was 13 years old.
What?
Yeah. And I remember, she would, we moved back to Kansas to be close to the family,
Mm-hmm.
and that was it was just her and me, and that was in 1984, and so real tight with moms.
Wow.
She taking care of me, I'm taking care of her.
Real quick.
I had to grow up. Take responsibility. So I'm the youngest of four, but I had to become the oldest.
Because your brother was off.
He was off. He's doing his.
He's doing his thing.
My sister's off.
Yeah.
And so it's
And
me.
it was just you and her.
Yeah.
Wow. And your mother's still, she's still around.
She's 85 years old.
85 years old.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm saying. She's like the house she's in. I was able to help her,
Take
help
care
her with the down payment on the house, and always going home, and I go home as much as I can to see her and take good care of her because she took good care of me.
It's interesting. Okay, so back to your text. So you're doing
Okay, so I come back. So 1994, I teach digital signal processing to the sales team. Then I go back to Silicon Valley. I go to Silicon Valley in 1995, January. Okay, and I'm there learning. High tech, capital of the world, and I'm learning.
It's booming.
It's booming.
Big.
Hard disk drives are big. I'm learning about hard disk drives. TI made chips that go into hard disk drives. In Japan is a place that has a lot of hard disk drives companies like IBM, Hitachi, Toshiba. So that was the plan. It was, okay, Ira, you go there and learn about hard disk drives, and then you come back, and I led the application team for hard disk drives. Okay. And right around that time, 3G is going to start to come online in Japan. And I have a mentor at Texas Instruments, and he was running the 2G chipset business, and they needed him to go do 3G. And so he needed to backfill, and him and I were buddies. And he said, "Ira, we need you to take this job." And the job was a company in Israel, okay? They made this software, okay? And we made the chips.
Okay.
Texas Instruments did, okay? But the phones were sold, remember J-Phone?
Yes, J-Phone,
Okay.
yes.
So J-Phone, this chipman, system integrator in Israel made the chips that went into phones like Toshiba, Kenwood used to make phones. My team, so I used to fly all over the world. I had to fly to Dallas, Texas. I'd fly to France because we had a division in France that would provide IP for the phone as well. And I had to be in Japan.
Did you ever go to Israel?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's my customer. I had to go, that's my customer in Israel. Right? And so DSPC was the name of the company. And so we're making this business, right? The second phone in the world to ever have a camera was a chip that my team made in the world. And so when that first came out,
Well, the flip phones, you mean?
yeah, the flip phones back to the Galapagos now, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So J-Phone was the ones who was
That's
pushing.
what I had, yeah.
Yeah. And so the first one came out with Sharp,
Okay.
because Sharp was the lead
That's
phone
right, yeah.
manufacturer for J-Phone. But the second one was Toshiba,
Okay.
and that was our customer.
Right.
And I remember being in Odaiba in the Christmas time of that year, and just watching couples taking pictures with their phones.
And you knew you had something to do with it.
Yeah, and that was my dream. When I grew up, when I was a kid, I said, I want to make things that I can tell people, we made that people love, that people love to use, and that's what I was doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then, when you finished, you're not working with them any longer, of course.
Not anymore.
So how did that? Tell me that transition from there. And
Okay.
I met, Mickey, he calls himself Mickey.
Mick,
right?
yeah, Masa, yep.
Mickey.
Yep.
So did he didn't bring you here, did he?
He didn't bring me here, but at that time he ran like Marcom for Texas Instruments Japan.
Okay.
And so because I was doing the TI was making a huge push in the digital signal processing, and so as a teacher, okay, I was like a providing information to Masa. Okay, and you know the old school guys
Right.
need to learn the new tech.
Right.
Okay, so I'm providing the information. So that's how I got to know Masa.
Right.
Okay, and so
Now Masa was working with TI,
he's working for TI.
but now he has his own company now.
Yeah, Masa retired, you know, and then after he went to Merrill Lynch, he went to
Right.
Merck, and then now he's retired.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you guys were doing something together. No, you're not. You were.
No, just
Okay.
just great friends.
All right.
Always great friends.
Wow. So what'd you do after that?
Okay, so then after that, so TI was the big thing I made for TI was the relationship between TI and Docomo. Okay. So when the 3G when FOMA was coming out, Docomo said we want to have the Dick Tracy phone, and they needed a chip to power the Dick Tracy phone,
Uh-huh.
and TI had the best chip. So what I was able to do was, TI is a chip maker. We sell to people like NEC, Panasonic. The head of our business division in Dallas says, we need a relation with Docomo. Because that time Docomo was it. They were dominating. Everybody's like I-mode. Everybody's like I-mode. Oh my gosh! And now 3G's coming. And Japan said we're going to lead the world in 3G. And so nobody in Japan, TI Japan, had a relation with Docomo because they're not a customer. In Japan, you don't have a customer. If you don't have a relationship, then you can't do nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I said, well, shoot. I read an article. There was a German lady who wrote an article about Docomo, in that she interviewed the director of this phone group in Docomo.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I'll just meet that German lady. I said, how'd you meet that guy? She says, oh, well, I have a friend who introduces companies to companies, and she can help you. I said, okay, let's work together. I got approved for the budget. We paid the, Shokai Sha woman. And after a series of meetings, I got the top heads of Texas Instruments, wireless division, to show up in Japan. And we had one of the big board meeting rooms.
Right.
And my boss was a VP of manufacturing is in there, and our CTO was in there. And that was the start, man.
That's the first time you ever did anything like that?
First time ever.
That must have put you on a high like that.
Oh, huge high, man.
And you had
huge
to be
high.
so nervous, you know, to do either. Wondering all the things that could possibly go wrong.
Go wrong, right?
Of course.
I'm
when
down-
you do
this
something
is-
that big,
it's
putting all
big.
those pieces together.
It's big.
And hoping it wouldn't, but it came off right, didn't it?
Okay, right. You wouldn't have FOMO wouldn't have existed without that chip. That was the key, because it had to have
Yes,
power and had to have the performance,
yes,
right,
yes.
and everything like that. So yeah, so we ended up with 100% market share of Docomo for that chip, for the application processor.
Okay.
100% market share. Ended up Docomo invested in a joint venture. We had a joint venture with Panasonic, NEC, Texas Instruments, Mitsubishi Semiconductor, NEC Semiconductor is a big thing. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. So because that $1,000, the numbers became massive.
So big, yeah.
Became massive.
Wow.
So it was big. So that's cool.
So after that, so tell
Okay.
me.
So then TI. Okay. TI said, okay, TI decided that they're not gonna continue that business.
They just dropped it.
They decided to drop it. They said, we're
Yes.
not gonna continue building big digital chips. Okay. And so they didn't say it publicly.
I know,
But they were the division that had been built in Japan was starting to they were winding it down, and said, okay, well, I got to go somewhere else. And so I went to Stanford. I said, okay, I'm going to go do an MBA. I did an executive MBA at Stanford, and because I said, okay, now it's time to go start my own company. That's what I want to do.
Okay.
And a friend of mine, a brother from Texas Instruments that I knew, he's like, Ira, if you go to Stanford, bring your business plan.
All right.
He said, because what you do then, don't start your business plan at Stanford. Bring it with you, so then you get some other smart people to figure it out for you. And then when you leave, then you got your business going.
And your money, you paid for
Then
everything right there.
Boom,
That's
boom,
right.
So that's what I did. And it was great. I mean, Stanford's amazing school.
Wait, you still have your own business?
No, I shut that one down.
How long did you have it?
So I was a precursor to all this digital learning, all this video learning. So when I was setting up, I had it up from 2008 after I graduated to 2000 and let's say 11. So yeah, 3 years.
Was it good for you?
It was good. It was a good learning experience, man.
Right.
It was good. It was good. I had, it was.
Did you sell the company or you just decided to stop?
Decided to stop.
Okay.
It was a technology that it was trying to do online language exchange. So take kids in Japan and kids in Australia,
Right.
and they're going to be able to learn the language by making friends.
Okay.
So forget all this, grammar. Okay,
Right,
you got to be a teacher, but you got to practice. The hardest thing for personal and foreign language is to find
Someone to
someone
keep
to
on
practice
speak
with.
And that's what you learned when you came over here the first
That's what I
time.
learned.
And you were thrown into the pod.
That's why I started the company.
It's, something my son, I sent one of my sons, I didn't tell you this part. After they graduated from high school, I didn't allow them to go straight to college. They had to spend 1 year outside of Japan.
That's smart.
So Louis wanted to go to France. The mistake I made was to let him go into school.
Oh.
He went to high school there. He just graduated from high school, and I put him to high school to learn the language when I should have had him work with the family.
Yeah.
And he would have learned French like that.
Yeah.
He would have had it. That's my
Yeah.
and that's my bad, Louis. I'm sorry. All right.
So that was that company. I shut that one down, and then I went back to. It was kind of fun. I went back into. Well, I was looking for an investor, and this guy named David Uze, he said, "Ira, I can't invest in your company, but if you come work for me, if he's working at Freescale Semiconductor. David was president of Freescale Semiconductor Japan. He said, you come work for me, and I'll, the money I pay you can be used for your company. I said, okay, that sounds great. That's fair. He wanted somebody who could help him with, again, an application processor that Freescale had made, and they wanted to put it into the consumer space.
Okay.
So 4K televisions is what was happening.
Then
This is back. Yeah, so that's great about technology, right? But all the stuff you see now has been we've been doing it for years before that. So this is 2000. This is like 2011.
Right.
Okay.
So
and
a decade ago.
I'm going in to create a chip for 4K TVs.
They haven't even come out online really well yet. They haven't become, and they're part of the market.
They're part of the market, but,
but there's no material for it.
Right.
Right. That's the biggest thing. But that's usually for most technology.
Right.
There's not enough content.
Exactly.
For people to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
My goodness. So that's not where you are now. Is that where you are now, or
no,
that's where you were back then? Okay.
So now I'm on the next thing. So I'm always be on the cutting edge.
Can you tell us about what the cutting edge
I can,
is
of
now?
course, it's AI.
Now let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious. Someone spoke to me once, and just from my living here so long, it's my belief that Japan is the leader in AI in the world, but they don't say anything about it. Or maybe not AI so much as robotics.
Definitely robotics. They are leading for robotics.
They're way ahead of everybody in
way ahead of
robotics. And I tell people, Japan's trying to work on the skin now.
Yeah.
They're lying down, jumping, or doing. They conquered that a long time ago.
I mean, you always see it, right? It's a cultural thing because Japan has a shrinking population. Who's going to care for all these people?
Robots.
Who's going to take care of these jobs?
Robots.
So there's a reason why they're on that bent.
Now, AI, how do you mean when you say AI? Because it can be used in
many ways. So the main thing about the great thing about AI is that it's able to think a whole lot better than you and I can about complex things, complex relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now all you've known since the time you was born until now is stereo. You listen to your music in stereo. You're going to watch Netflix in stereo. Now, there's surround sound. If you can afford it, you got the space, you'll get some surround sound speakers, okay? But that's putting speakers around you to give you the feeling of being immersed. But God gave you the best hearing. It only takes 2 ears, and you hear everything in 3D, right? But a man hasn't been able to figure out how to do that until we came along. So what we're able to do is this. How you hear sounds, how you know the fact that I'm here, is there's a waveform that comes from my voice, right? It's pushing the air molecules, and the waveform hits your ears. Okay, now of course you can see me, but if you couldn't see me, there's a specific wave pattern that your brain has learned from the time you were a baby.
And
it's unique to you. If that waveform hit my ears, I wouldn't know I would not know you were in front of me. And so the really smart people in our company were able to figure out, okay, look, if I know every single wave pattern for different positions, 360-degree coverage, okay, if I know that relationship between how your ear is shaped, because your ear shape is what changes that pattern. So think of a pond, right? And you put a pebble in there. Waveform ripples out, right? It deforms when it runs into a boulder. That boulder are the folds in your ear. So what we're able to do is we take a picture of your ear. we know the sound waveform, and we're able to say that for this specific person, Lance Lee, that I know how you hear. And if I know how you hear, I can make your brain think. I can play a sound and make it think that sound came from here, or here, or here, because I know the pattern. And the only way to figure that out is with AI, because it's very, very, very complex. Our algorithms to generate your model will run through 1 billion calculations to generate just your model for you, and I got it for everybody. So now they got the model. Then when you're playing a game, all of a sudden there's details in the game that you don't hear because I'll call it an ear mismatch, right? The sound designer may put birds in there, or they put, when you step on a spider in a game, the crunch, okay? And all those details is what makes life interesting. The little sizzle, when you shuffle on the carpet, right? Or when you touch the door, or the little creak, or the fact this fan is blowing up here. All those things are what makes our world become real. And what happens is when in a game or in music, all those go away. Because you can't hear in stereo. All you have is stereo. All you have is 2 channels.
2 channels.
2 channels. The more information I give your ear and your brain, the more real it becomes. And so now, when you listen to that game, you hear the crunch when you step on that spider. You hear the birds, and it adds to the detail, the richness of the game. And now you feel more immersed into it. That's what we do for gamers. And for pro audio, this is just really crazy. A lot of people make music today in their home. Right? I mean, you're doing this here. You are editing. We're going to edit this. This is a room. You're going to take it home. You're going to edit it down. And it's going to be really nice. Okay? You're doing home editing. So, music industry, a lot of independent artists, they don't have access to multi-million-dollar studios anymore. But their music, it's difficult just mixing on headphones. So making music on headphones is difficult because you don't have the natural crosstalk coming over. There's details in your mix that you're not going to hear as well if you had stereo monitors, okay? With our technology, you're able to model a multi-million-dollar studio. And now because I have a model of how you hear, I can put you in that room. And so when you listen to your music on your headphones, it's going to sound like it's coming from out here on stereo monitors. And more importantly, the acoustic treatment of that room, that multi-million-dollar room, the why it's multi-million dollars, that acoustic treatment comes with it. And so now on headphones, I let you hear all the details that you would hear if you sat in, say Bob Horn. Bob Horn mixed for Michael Jackson, BTS, okay, Herbie Hancock. This guy's brilliant. I can make you feel like you're sitting in his studio and hearing how he hears sounds, but on your headphone, you could be sitting here in Tokyo. So that's what we do now. And I run, this company's called Embody, and I run marketing for them.
So when are these earphones going to come out?
No, right now. But it's not the earphones. It's just software.
It's the software. So wait. So what does a person purchase? What are they going to receive?
So what you would do is, for example, like in your case, okay, you play sax, right? You could download today. You can get one for $299.
Okay, I'm in.
Okay,
right.
And you just download it, and then you can listen to your music. If you're an audiophile, if you're traveling around, you can listen to it, and it's going to sound like it's coming from out here. Sound like you're in a nice treated room. It's going to sound good today. Yeah.
What about books on tape? Is it anything in that? Because that's not such a big deal because you just listen to someone speak.
Just someone speak. That's not a big deal.
But for music or something like
for
that.
For music or movie
or whatever,
game,
something like that, right?
Like that. When you want to feel more connected to that story, right? Like take a good book. What's great about books is the author is able to paint the picture, the person, you get transported. If it's a book about England, you're in England. If it's a book in China, you feel like you're in Mongolia. If it's about someplace in Mongolia, you feel a good author can do that for you. That's all we're doing. We're giving the details so you feel like you're really in that music or in that game.
Ira, thank you. This is awesome. I mean, blowing my mind. I really like this. Look, I'm not going to take up any more of your time because I know you have to leave.
I gotta go.
I know you have to go. Thank you for the time that you.
Thank you. Hey, it's my pleasure.
And this won't be the last time.
Oh, I hope not. I hope we get to come back.
This will not be the last time. We'll be doing this again.
It's an honor to be here because you are a great man. You're great. You are a great man, and you do great things. And I'm glad I got to sit down and talk to you.
Thank you so much, Aaron. all of you that have been watching this, make sure that you click like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'll be interested to hear what you have to say, and I'm sure Ira will be too. And remember, it's all on loan, and continue to reach for the stars.